Alright everyone, welcome to AHGL, the After Hours Gaming League week something. Sotere, do you know what week it is?
6, I believe.
6. Alright, so it's week 6. Yeah, so I think we have Microsoft versus IGT here. I think IGT is on the blue side on Team 1 and Microsoft is on Team 2.
That is absolutely correct.
Alright, so we have our bans going out in chat as usual. The first ban is Ash, and then Jax and Ari.
Indeed, indeed. So Microsoft banning out that Ash and Ari, and the Twisted Fate ban coming out as well, coming down from IGT. Always a good ban. Always hate playing against that Twisted Fate. You can show up anywhere on the map, really wreak havoc on your team.
Yep, but some of the other bans are a little bit more unusual. Ash, you don't really see banned that often, and I think that might be more of a targeted ban.
Indeed, indeed. And we are going through it. Oops, I thought we got another ban, but I did not. Welcome to everyone. If you just hopped on over from the EU LCS, that's wrapped up for the day. Once again, AHGL Week 6 here with Microsoft and IGT. IGT being on the blue side. Our picks and bans are coming out fast and furious.
Yep, so the next ban is Lee Sin. He's a pretty good, pretty strong champion. And then it's Swain. So I remember I saw Swain a couple weeks ago, but I don't remember if it was Microsoft that we saw it on.
I don't think it was. I believe it was a separate team. Of course, it did not go incredibly well regardless. Hydraxy for Microsoft does play a lot of Swain, so that could be a targeted ban, but I don't believe it's the same Swain we saw earlier, and we are getting a recap. Oh, thanks to my fleeting dream. Microsoft bans Ash, Ari, Lee Sin, IGT bans Jax, Twisted Fate, and Swain, and now we'll enter into the picks lineup.
So again, right now we have Microsoft, the first pick, going out Nocturne, a very good jungler, can have ganks from, basically can gank from further away than other champions, and pick's going out pretty quickly now. Ezreal and Shen picked up. Shen not banned, partially because of these more targeted bans, though he is banned a lot. So he's probably going to go top lane, although he can also go in the jungle, and is a very good split pusher late game.
Yeah, certainly he has a lot of roles, and that is why he tends to be banned out. Nocturne's a good counter pick to Shen, but Shen's also a good counter pick to Nocturne. As interesting as that is, Nocturne can essentially chase ultimates and ultimate more often than Shen can, but if a target of Nocturne does survive throughout that darkness period, throughout the paranoia, then Shen can use Stand United and help turn around a gank. So certainly some good, interesting dynamic there with two champions with semi-global ultimates. Shen, of course, is global. Nocturne gets further in range or gets a greater distance on each level up. It's actually quite small at level 6 now, but it's still large enough to avoid wards, and that's incredibly important, especially with so many people running Sightstones.
Yep, and the next two picks are the bot lane, presumably for Team Microsoft, and they are Varus and Sona. And Varus is a champion we haven't seen that much, because I mean he might be the most or the least common AD carry right now.
That certainly is possible. I mean, we've actually seen a pickup of play of Urgot and Twitch, who would have previously contended for that spot. Now I think Tristana might be left out in the dust, although she's received some nice little quality of life buffs recently as well. So yeah, Varus certainly not incredibly popular in competitive play, but what he does bring to the table is incredible poke, and especially if you can combine his ultimate with Sona's Crescendo, it's going to make for an easy skill shot to land and devastating crowd control.
Yep, so we'll see if they can manage to both use their poke, because Sona has a lot of poke too in lane, and that should complement Varus' poke well, and if they can use their ultimates to good effect. And now Amumu and Soraka being picked up, so Soraka at least will probably be the support, and Amumu likely going to go in the jungle.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because historically Ezreal Sona has been the greatest poke comp lane, but Ezreal Soraka has always competed in that respect too, because of course Ezreal will have his mana maintained by the infuse from Soraka. But with Varus and Sona, we actually see a side that can trade better than Ezreal and Soraka can, and has decent sustain as well. Varus is kind of underappreciated for his poke, but very few people do more damage than his 1-2 combo, just an auto attack into a hail of arrows.
Yep. So I think we have. It's getting a little bit hard to keep track of these picks, but I think we have 2 more picks going out that should be coming out for Microsoft, and they have their.
We need both of the mids and 1 top laner.
Yes.
So that's kind of where we stand. Of course, Amumu will go in the jungle, which means Shen will go up top for IGT. So we're waiting to see who are they going to counter the top Shen with, and what are both teams going to pick for that middle AP selection, or perhaps not AP. Maybe they will send a bruiser in the middle, as a lot of teams will want to do now.
An Orianna and Akali being picked up. So Orianna likely to go mid, and Akali going top then.
Yep, that would be the most likely situation going down here. Akali is not someone I tend to think of to counter a Shen, in particular because he's tanky and not susceptible to her assassination abilities. She doesn't push quite as well as you would hope to have someone that's going against Shen, and of course she can't cancel out Shen's ultimate either. So he's going to have free reign to push up his lane and use Stand United onto an opposing lane or one of his friendly's lanes, and hopefully turn a fight down there. And Akali is going to have to really just be content to free farm and perhaps push as hard as Akali can when he leaves the lane.
Yeah, and and then Annie being picked up to face Orianna in lane. And I was actually going to mention that Akali and Shen are both ninjas, so it's a ninja matchup up top.
That is a good point. There can be only one. It's very exciting picks. Microsoft, Nocturne, Varus, Sona, Orianna, Akali. Of course, they can use that Nocturne and Orianna to land a great shockwave with ultimates combined, and we are all ready to go. IGT, Ezreal, Shen, Amumu, Soraka, and Annie, which is kind of a... there's not so much synergy between all those players. They do have 2 global ultimates and a good amount of AoE to combine all of them.
So we're going to go into game. These bans should be coming out, and there's a request for a stream link, so I'm going to give it to them. Of course, if you're watching this, you already know what the stream link is.
Too true, too true.
Oh, and for once it looks like they're actually banning out the champions that they banned out.
That helps us keep track. So much appreciated, and hopefully they'll pick the champions that they actually picked as well.
That would also help.
In no particular order, we do have the Choop picking up Amumu. I believe everyone will just be picking the champion they have to play here, so we don't have to go through any swapping process.
Yep, and it's interesting because a lot of times when we've been casting these games, we've seen people like to get those AoE champions like Amumu, Orianna, and maybe we've speculated on how they would combo them, but it seems like for this game we have champions like the Akali or the Shen who don't really fit into that AoE comp, who are more of a single target, or in Shen's case more of a split pusher slash counter ganker.
Yeah, I mean, the whole teams don't seem to match up incredibly well, but when you combine Amumu and Ezreal, that's pretty nice sync, just so you can get the Curse of the Sad Mummy lined up for a True Shot Barrage from Ezreal, and it creates a pretty good front line for that Ezreal. And the other thing they have going for them is between Star Call and Amumu's passive, they're going to be reducing a lot of magic resistance of the enemy team, so there is some synergy in that sense, not so much in the sense of, oh, we're a full AoE team here, but in the sense that, oh, we do have a function of reducing people's magic resistance, and that should stack on top of each other quite well.
Yep. So, yeah, we'll see how these teams can use their ultimates and their abilities together. I mean, we do have a lot of synergy going on, even despite the they do have AoE, but even without like a full AoE team comp. So last pick going out, and we're gonna have to wait about 4 minutes now before we can get into game.
Well,
so
we're not gonna have to wait. we will enjoy the waiting. Certainly, some interesting runes going down. I noticed on the Choop running 15 AP, so AP in the Quints, and running Magic Pen, which is not unsurprising for an Amumu. Some tend to go more tanky on him, but he does really benefit from both the AP and from Magic Penetration. As I mentioned earlier, his passive will help stack on top of that. And another thing, going away from the runes and the masteries, although if I see anything interesting we'll return to them, is the fact that, there's not, pure AoE lineups, but the combination coming down from Microsoft can be deadly. You have Nocturne go in there with Paranoia, hopefully that leads to a Shockwave from Orianna, and then that'll make the landing of the Chain of Corruption and a Crescendo incredibly easy for the side of Microsoft. And then from that point on, they have Akali to just clean up anyone who might survive that AoE burst. So I do like the setup in that sense that not only do they have an AoE comp, but they have an AoE comp that should hopefully make all of their ultimates land easier, because it is otherwise relatively easy to miss a Shockwave, or especially a Chain of Corruption, and we even see quite a few people miss the Crescendos from Sona as well. So hopefully they sync properly and will land all of those thanks to the combination of their teammates.
Yeah, and I mean, Orianna Shockwave is great for helping other people land the ultimates, because it just gets everybody bunched up together, and that should help, Varus and Sona out a lot.
Indeed. Sona is running not incredibly, unusual runes, but no GP10, and essentially, Sona has been nerfed to make her incredibly squishy early on, but to combat that, you can just simply, ruin her and mastery her a little bit more defensively. So we see 21 armor being run and 4.5% move speed, so that can be used as an offensive and a defensive tool. Of course, she's going to be incredibly squishy if she gets caught, but the hope is with that extra move speed, she will not be locked down and instantly burst.
Yep, that sounds about right to me. I mean, I personally like running a more offensive Sona with, I think I showed you my Sona page before. It was like mana regen, AP, stuff like that. But, I mean, this movement speed is also very good on Sona because she has received a bunch of nerfs to her health, and she is so squishy. I think somebody did a calculation where, like, a minion had more effective health than Sona. And at level 1, and so having that move speed will really help her, move around and avoid getting caught out, because once you get caught out, no amount of tankiness in the runes will help you escape.
Yeah, that is certainly true, and I think I am Smash Face, the Soraka coming down for IGT, would take kind of the same belief and has ruined accordingly, but not offensively as you might do, but with 5.3 gold per 10 over time, and only like 6 to 7 armor, so that is certainly a very delicate rune page for a delicate champion in Soraka, but provided she can get past those first couple of levels, she can just sustain herself throughout all those sorts of fights, and not to worry too much about poke, just has to worry about being ganked from the jungle would be the main concern coming down for that Soraka combo.
Yeah, that Soraka rune page is interesting because it has that one ability power per level rune, which gives her 1.9 ability power at level 18.
Every little bit counts. Every little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting, I don't know if that was intentional or if that was just because he just only had 8 runes, but yeah, 1.9. Maybe we'll see somebody barely die up to a star call.
It could certainly happen, and Soraka's AP ratios aren't terrible with her heals, especially Wish and Astral Blessing. They do get a bit, and Infuse also has a decent AP ratio, so it doesn't really go to waste on her. And we've actually seen, or I have seen in the past, for instance, Pure Golden Boy used to run a full AP rune page, and I think he's changed that up because her ratios did get nerfed along the way, thanks to a lot of people playing her in middle, but she still has decent ones that are worthwhile to use. And we are in the game. We do have some nice skins, including a new Panda Annie skin, which I have yet to see in play, so I'm excited about that.
Oh, I have seen it before as well. It's actually pretty nice, though the Q animation is a little bit weird, I have to say. It doesn't quite look like it.
I found with the rework, Annie's Q looks weird regardless of the skin, so I'll also have to see firsthand what this skin does to her Q as well. But certainly, the rework is relatively interesting, and we are out of the gates, and wow, everyone's just running out right quick, and we will see if there's going to be an invasion here. Kind of an interesting choice Corey Pro Shen running on the top lane with Exhaust and Ghost. Ghost is pretty standard on Shen, but most choose Ignite as opposed to Exhaust. And I wonder if his main goal here is going to be to lock down Varus, or if he really thinks that's going to assist him in the lane against Akali.
Yep, looks like Microsoft is going to bunch up over at the top side, maybe going for an invade, or a delayed invade of blue. And they're just in that bush. Sona's going to catch up
30 seconds
eventually.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Corey Pro, who I mentioned, running that Exhaust on Shen, was late out of the gates, was the last member back in his base, and is not really protecting that entrance as one might want. Annie is guarding the entrance to the jungle now, but one thing that a lot of teams will come and do is run down there at about 139, and it tends to happen that the top laner and the mid laner will both back out and help their jungler do the wolves, leaving that area unguarded. So we'll see if there is the patience to wait until that, but I suppose it doesn't need to be, since people are already backing out, and it is like clockwork. Around 135, the enemy team is moving in, and it does not look incredibly good for IGT at this point.
No, it doesn't, and they're just going to be waiting in this bush. Shen and Amumu are going to go right here and get caught. Shen hits the bush, and he just gets bursted down so quickly and falls. Nocturne picking up that first blood, and they're going to be able to do this blue pretty easily. Mumu and Annie backing off. They do have a ward on their own blue as well, so they're going to know if Mumu goes straight for it. So it's a very good play by Microsoft to both steal the blue and try to protect their own blue at the same time.
And Nocturne should be incredibly excited here, because he picked up that first blood. He has enough to go back and pick up a Magi's Razor now, and he got to save his smite, so he can just go over to his red buff, take that willy-nilly, and be really healthy afterwards, and perhaps head out for a gank. Shen didn't use his Ghost or Exhaust or really anything to get away from that gank, so he's not going to be particularly vulnerable in the top lane. It's always something you have to be careful for. If you do waste those summoners in that level 1 battle, make sure you're extra protected as you get into lane.
Yeah, and one thing that Microsoft doesn't have going for them is that their bot lane got to lane very late, so they are going to be a little bit behind in levels, as Ezreal is already level 2, so we'll see how they can deal with that.
And especially against a Soraka, you can really take advantage of her level 1 and level 2, but once she gets to level 3, her Astral Blessing doubles in power. It heals 140 instead of 70 and grants even more extra armor. So certainly she gets frighteningly sustainy after that point, and really the Sona Varus combination is kind of missing out on an opportunity.
Over at mid, we see a gank going out. The Fear proc is going to go off, and there's going to give you some damage on, but Choop comes in, saving out the Annie, and he throws out some damage before they both have to back off. So Nocturne brought down pretty low, and Annie brought down pretty low, but in the end, nobody dies.
Yeah, and Ibni on Nocturne did a really great job in that case to block out Annie's spell with his Shroud of Darkness there, and now he's just camping up and has caught the Choop.
Yep, and the Choop is forced to back off as well. Annie putting down a ward. Over at bottom, we saw Ezreal actually flash away as there was a lot of action going on. So it looks like Varus is doing a pretty good job of laying down the damage, despite having been behind a little bit. And now he's actually even ahead, and actually forcing the Soraka to flash away. The Sona is actually giving chase, gonna throw out that Q, but is gonna only hit minions, and looks like Microsoft is doing pretty well in the bot lane.
Yeah, and they are 1,000 gold ahead thanks to minions, thanks to that first blood, and thanks to their jungle being able to clear just a little bit faster than has Amumu. Now, Amumu is up on minion kills, but Nocturne has taken out 3 big camps, which makes him up overall on experience and just general gold. Of course, having first blood assists in that as well.
Yep, and Varus showing his great poke. Nocturne coming in for a gank, flashing in this time, forcing a flash from Annie, so he's going to have to back off, but flash down for both champions.
And really good job to put a lot of pressure mid there. Orianna's getting, the benefit of that, and has essentially been free farming 23 minions to the 17 of Annie, so has created a substantial lead. And as you mentioned, bottom, Varus doing such a good job with the hail of arrows, and that's really, what makes him great in the bottom lane. If he lands an auto attack and the hail of arrows, he simply does better trade damage than almost anyone can hope to contend in that, almost instant time frame. In addition to that, we saw Ezreal not pick up Arcane Shift at level 2, and that, forced him to use that early flash. So bottom lane is particularly vulnerable, and I believe Nocturne will get to 6 before their flashes will be back up.
Yep. So they're actually just keeping this lane very pushed. Doing a good job of putting out the harass even while they're under tower. So Nocturne's gonna actually work on this blue, and Amumu's gonna come over, and he knows it's being done, and wants to try to maybe get a steal of it. Actually, Nocturne just kind of smites it away to prevent Amumu after Amumu places down that ward. So Amumu's gonna be chased away here, and is gonna be forced to go back to his own jungle.
It was a good attempt. He was just there a moment too late. He did have Smite up and could have potentially, turned that into something grand. But now he's just going to roam through the enemy's jungle and perhaps cause some trouble down here. Mumu looking to head bottom or just take those golems out. And Nocturne's not going to find too much to really go for in this jungle.
Yep, just kind of walking around, maybe waiting for this red to come up. But he's going to actually come over here. He's going to... No, he's being a little bit careful. He's gonna Chup is gonna actually see Nocturne, and he's gonna walk into this bush because he's gonna attack the Chup a little bit. And now they're gonna go for it. There's the exhaust going down on Nocturne and the stun going on Nocturne as well. Varus is in here in the fight now, and it looks like it's a pretty good fight. That Halo Arrow is hitting everybody, and the Shen ultimate coming out to help out the Soraka, and they're just gonna back off. Microsoft is going to back off. They both got very low, but no deaths coming out from this exchange.
Yeah, unfortunately Shadow Dash didn't make his way through the wall. The exhaust came out a little bit early on Nocturne, and they weren't able to really, dive in deep on that battle. And it could have been successful thanks to, the fact that Varus hadn't made his way over behind the turret, as he was more concerned with farming, as most ADs are. But, to his advantage, he now is sitting at 47 creeps to the 20 of Ezreal. So that is a sizable lead, and it's leading to a 1,500 gold lead throughout the entire team. And Akali, of course, got the benefit of Shen using his ultimate. Shen sitting at 24 CS, 48 for Akali, getting some free farm when Shen used that ultimate, and luckily for Microsoft, no harm coming from the team through that first Stand United.
Yep, Annie taking a lot of harass from Orianna over at mid. She's going to have to be very careful, as both champions are level 6, so they do have level of burst, and Annie is just going to go back. Is pretty low and doesn't want to risk dying to Orianna.
Yeah, Orianna actually already backed, picked up that Chalice of Harmony, so was sitting at an item advantage there and really took advantage of said advantage by just forcing Annie out of the lane. The advantage Orianna has over Annie is one that most APs share over Annie, and that's just one of range. Was able to poke with that ball. Well, Annie really didn't have an answer to that except going all in, perhaps flashing and using Tibbers. The buffs should be coming up any moment now. It looks like the blue buff was actually taken by Amumu. So it looked like Nocturne was considering going in there. They probably saw that Amumu had picked up his own buff and decided to back on out of there. It would have been a very nice time to try to challenge that blue buff with Annie back at base.
Yep, and Sona is doing a pretty good job of harassing down this Ezreal, but Soraka, being who she is able to do some healing to prevent that. But Ezreal's going to go back right now. Maybe he has an item he wants to get, so that's going to leave Soraka alone in lane. Meanwhile, we have some harass between the two ninjas up at top, though they're both basically almost at full health. Although right now, as I say that, they kind of harass each other even more to get each other down a little bit lower.
Yeah, and Akali at this point, has a sustain from the Hextech Revolver and can really go in at will. We just see her using that Shadow Dash, or Shadow Dance rather, to put on some decent harass onto Shen, and Shen just can't stay in lane. He really doesn't have an answer for this constant poking.
Yep, the Chup coming over at mid, but just really only to scare away Orianna. Not really a very good, or not a very committed gank effort. But he comes back around and is going to wait for Orianna once again.
Yep.
And he's going to go after her, but it looks like they're not going to go catch her. I mean, over at top, we see Shen taking a lot of damage. He's going to be forced to go back. But fortunately for him, the Akali was not able to get enough damage to kill him.
Yeah, it was close. So his Stand United is just about up. So now that he's back at base, it's certainly a concern for.
Oh, over at mid, we see an ultimate coming out from Annie, but Nocturne coming in very quickly to follow up on that. He flashes forward, but it wasn't really effective, as he wasn't able to catch up to Annie. So they're going to be forced to get back. Annie was trying to burst down the Orianna, but great help from Nocturne to prevent that.
Yeah, absolutely. And had they really followed any further, Shen could have used Stand United to get in there. But Annie doing a good job, really just trying to force the fight there. The one bad thing is she's now used her flash, and Oriana still has flash and still has Ignite up and available to her, so she'll be safe from ganks. I mean, certainly they have a really mean combination if they want to use Curse of the Sad Mummy and Tibbers together in that mid lane. It could be an insta-kill, but Amumu had to cover that top lane for a little while. And meanwhile, Varus just continuing to do work, has over doubled the CS of Ezreal, and has that BF sword, is just really pushing up this lane and harassing to his heart's content.
Yep, and really, Amumu hasn't been down here much at all because he's been focused on mid lane and, you know, in his own jungle. So we'll see if he decides to try to help out his bot lane because it is pushed all the time.
Right, and it is only 1-0, and we are 11 minutes in. You tend to see more kills in a game than this, but now that Amumu is 6, he really has the advantage to pick off a kill somewhere, and I really like going bottom lane, because of course your damage is primarily AoE, you can lock down 2 targets at once, but at this point, you know, Varus is heading back, as is Sona, so they're going to be safe for a little while. And when they come back, their items might be, you know, large enough that they can potentially 3v2, even if Amumu does come down. So there is a really great concern there coming down from IGT, whether or not they can actually, you know, compete with this bottom lane of Microsoft thanks to their good head start.
Yep, the Tube coming around, maybe looking for a gank on Oriana once again, but a ward spots him out, and Oriana is going to back off. Very safe from this. She knows Mumu is there. Mumu is just going to wait around, but knows that Oriana probably knows something is up, so it's going to back off from that.
And just across the board, really good creep scores coming down from Microsoft. 90 for Akali, 88 Oriana, 90 from Varus. And even the jungler, even Nocturne's doing pretty well with 46, which kind of actually almost matches
over at
Ezreal.
Top we see Akali being very aggressive on Shen. Shen being forced to go back, and yeah, I thought there might have been a little bit more aggression, but yeah, Shen is very low. Akali doing a very good job of pushing him away.
Yeah, if he sticks around, there's nothing really to stop her from diving. You know, she has quite a while still left on that Ignite cooldown, 28 seconds, but Shen decided, he's thinking about going back, and now decides, okay, I better go back, and that's certainly the wise move, as Akali could have just dove him kind of at any point there. And Shen, you know, has that advantage where he can show up anywhere on the map, but he can't really help himself out too much with that Stand United. He can get out of some tricky situations, but if he's just getting burst down, it's likely he'll fall before the shield goes through.
Yeah, over at bot lane, we see Sona doing a very good job dancing around, dodging some of those Ezreal Qs, and really putting that movement speed to good work as she puts down the harass and prevents them from really even getting CS at all.
Right, she's zoning essentially both of them out, you know, dodging a few more mystic shots. Takes one, but she has some sustain of her own. She's actually taken no points in Song of Celerity, which is her E, of course, and grants a nice slow, but she's deciding to go the brute force way of, you know, leveling out that Hymn of Valor, and second, the Aria of Perseverance, just to grant more poke damage and more sustain.
Yep, I thought for a second that Annie was going to come down bot lane to maybe help out, but she's just going to put a ward down and then walk back to her own lane. I'm going to face Oriana, who has been basically doing the same thing as bot lane, pushing a lot and really putting out a lot of harass. Mumu's coming down, but some good ward coverage helps Microsoft spot that out. And
yes.
Yeah,
Microsoft actually had a flurry of pings there. There was about 5 pings down on Amumu, but he passed a ward at Wraith Camp, he passed 2 wards at Dragon, and there's also a ward in the Tri-Bush there for Microsoft. So that bottom lane is incredibly well protected. Akali really pushing out some damage up on that top lane, and now has that Ignite up, and might go all in just a moment.
Yep, at the same time, looks like Amumu might be looking for a gank opportunity, but once again, the ward coverage, very good, is going to prevent them from pulling off of this gank.
Yeah, and really great wards all around for Microsoft. Top is pretty well protected, mid is protected, and bottom has about 10 wards to ward off any attempted Mumu ganks. And with them being pushed up, it's a really hard... Ooh, wow.
Oh, but down at bot, we have a lot of damage going down, the snare going out, and we see Soraka actually got killed. I am going to rewind to catch that once again, once we're sure that Amumu doesn't do anything. Mumu come around, the ward does spot them, and over at mid we actually see some more action. The flash going out, the Tibbers coming out, and the damage going out so big on both sides, but Oriana with the advantage from the harass is able to finish off the kill before backing off and is safe from that Amumu.
Yeah, and of course Annie was not able to get off that ignite in time. Orianna getting away and down bottom. It was just a combination of that crescendo into that chain of corruption. So they are ready
we
combining.
see a flash being forced out, the damage going out on the Ezreal, who got very low. That arrow, the Soraka heal actually saving him because he took so much damage, but they're forced to back off. Akali taking down that tower over at top, but now she's probably going to roam around and cause a lot of havoc in the other lanes.
Yeah, Akali is certainly going to be very scary. She has 14, almost 1,500 gold to her name, so when she can complete that Gunblade, she will be a terror rushing around. We do see all the wards going down for Microsoft, and they're, going to head out here. They aren't protected as they'd like to be in this bottom lane, but if they back out, which they are going to do, they will be safe. And it looks like we might see a dragon sneak. Now, they were just afraid that dragon was in fact being done, so IGT goes and checks out the dragon. It occurs that it's not being done, but they don't want to take it for themselves either. It actually might have been an opportune time, as Microsoft would have been none the wiser, and they had most of their members of their team back at base.
Yep. So we see Akali choosing to go down rather than back to the top lane after pushing that a little bit. So we'll see if they actually choose to go for this dragon now that they have the top tower down, now that they have the bot lane and mid lane pushing very well. So Shen is going to come over towards mid to help. So we might see a dragon dance coming out very soon.
Yeah, and the dance, at this point looks to be heavily in Microsoft's favor. We have the Infinity Edge bought by Varus, we have a Hextech Gunblade bought by Akali, and that is one of the scariest things you can see in mid-game, is an Akali with that Hextech Gunblade completed. No deaths to her name, only 1 assist from that first blood, but she is actually quite fed, level 12, which
Sona is actually going to get caught out a little bit. She might be forced to flash over. No, she does not have flash, so she cannot flash over the wall. She is going to get bursted down pretty quickly. Akali actually got caught in that Curse of the Sad Mummy, interestingly enough, over the wall, but now without the Sona there, this is going to be more of a fair fight. Actually, Soraka taking a lot of damage is going to heal most of it back up, though, and there looks like IGT is going to start this dragon because they have that advantage in man. But the ultimate coming out from Nocturne is going to go in, the ultimate coming out also from Varus, but it looks like we have a kill going down on Orianna, so that's going to help Nocturne be very low, but the looks like the Akali is doing very well as well, getting that double kill and is going to get that, actually no, Varus gets that kill, and now Akali is going to try to burst using her spell vamp to stay alive, and the triple kill going down to Varus, so a triple kill for Varus and double kill for Akali, and those are the two champions that were doing very well in this mid game, so they are going to be doing even better from now on.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that it seemed like it was going to be close there. Akali didn't really pick out the choice targets early on, wanted to finish off Amumu instead. Amumu really didn't have much, function in that fight because, of course, he'd already used the Curse of the Sad Mummy to take down Sona earlier. So while they had the numbers advantage, they didn't really have the cooldowns advantage. Shen didn't get a Stand United off on anyone. And although there was a really nice True Shot barrage from Ezreal, it just didn't do the damage that they really needed it to do. And Dragon, still remains. It was quite a fierce fight, but their dragon was the sole survivor on the blue side of the map. Of course, isn't really fighting for IGT, but we'll say that he fought valiantly and almost spelled the doom with them because they did tank him for a little while. The Choop got a little bit low, and now, wow, Annie's in trouble.
Yep, Annie is going to take a lot of damage. 3 people, the Crescendo going out for the stun, and Nocturne finishes her off as they were challenging the blue. Looks like the Choop and Cory Pro were a little bit busy doing this blue, and they were not able to help in time. So looks like they're going to actually group mid. Akali coming over as well, and maybe try to push down this last tower as both bot and top first towers are down.
Yeah, and now Orianna also has, Orianna has, of course, Nocturne, who she can put the ball in to use the Shockwave, which she did last fight, use Command Protect when he dove in with his ultimate and landed a nice Shockwave, but she can also do it on Akali and just let Akali Shadow Dance in there, and of course she's also granting a nice shield to whoever she puts that ball on. It is 175 life worth of shield, and of course it also grants extra MR and magic resistance to the tune of an additional 20, so that's not very bad, and it looks like she's going to try to make a play over here at the blue buff. Of course it is warded, and will have to be a sneaky steal here.
Yep, nope. looks like Choop is not going to take any chances, is going to just smite that away, and Oriana does not have a chance at it.
Yeah, so these 2 turrets to none, although my turrets actually aren't showing up on the total scoreboard.
Oh, not for me either.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so a little bug there, but it is 2-0 in turrets, and a dragon is going to go down to Microsoft here. Varus and Sona are just duoing it together, and it's not giving them much trouble, so they take that one for free, and that increases their gold lead to 9,000 gold here, and we're 20 minutes in, and whenever you get even a 5,000 gold lead at 20 minutes, it is a terrible, terrible thing for the opposing team to combat with. 3 to 9 is a kills, which, you know, doesn't seem too incredibly uneven, but it's mainly those 2 towers, the dragon, and especially the farm. We see 175 for Akali, 165 for Varus, 153 for Oriana, and the top for IGT is Annie with only 124, so she's trailing quite a bit behind Oriana, and the entire team is, you know, trailing quite a bit behind their counterparts.
Yep, the Nocturne Paranoia going out, but he's not really going to use that to much effect. Soraka is still chasing this, or Sona is still chasing this Soraka, and they're just going to have a small little support battle before backing off. Yeah, that was an interesting fight there.
It was pretty interesting because at the same time Varus also missed his Chain of Corruption down bottom, but Soraka was clearing out wards. Nocturne didn't take kindly to that and thought he could jump on her before she killed the ward. Of course, she killed the ward and escaped safely that time because he lost vision of her and was unable to use that ultimate. So a good escape for their part by IGT, but it doesn't really help turn the game around at all. And Microsoft is able to just continue, you know, forcing down all those turrets, got the mid turret, and that just gives them incredible control of the enemy jungle. I really like what Soraka's done with the Oracle, and she has already picked up quite a few wards to clean out the, you know, opposition's wards in the jungle, and made, you know, some money off of that, but she also has the threat, or is, you know, in danger of losing that Oracle, losing that 400 gold, and it's hard to say whether or not it'll be really worth that 400 gold at the end of the day, at the end of the 5 minutes, or when she dies.
Yep, Akali's still pushing top, and we saw Varus actually take down this second inhibitor, or second turret, sorry, pretty low, so doing a very good job of keeping up the pressure, of keeping these lanes pushed. So we'll see where the next big play comes, but right now it looks like they're just forced to basically push all of these lanes at the same time.
Yeah, Akali has 1,500 gold saved up. You know, and it looks like she might be working towards a Warmogs right now. She could alternatively, you know, just build more AP, and actually she is going to do that, and it could be a Rhyolized Crystal Scepter she's going for instead, which will grant her a ton of utility in the form of slows. She already has a slow from the active of Hextech Gunblade, but when you add the Rhyolized Crystal Scepter to that, it makes her incredibly tanky and provides her the utility of, you know, essentially sticking on anyone for however long they want to run. So that makes for a very scary Akali. We do see a nice move by IGT here. They know Varus is bottom. They know probably that Sona is heading towards bottom. So they're going to stick 3 men up top and hopefully get some towers for themselves. They certainly need that global advantage.
Yep, Akali's going to be here defending this with Nocturne, and they're actually going to not be able to take this tower because Nocturne and Akali are so strong. The Choop is going to fall to Akali, and Akali's going to go after the Shen as well, doing some good damage on him. So not only are they able to protect, they are able to get a kill in the process.
Yeah, and that just is because Akali is incredibly strong. Nocturne really didn't want to commit to that battle because he doesn't have mana, he doesn't have his ultimate, but it didn't matter. They were able to draw out the ultimate, the Curse of the Sad Mummy from Amumu, and pick up a kill without really wasting cooldowns, without really, you know, being in danger themselves.
Yep, and now we have Oriana still pushing as well as Varus still pushing. So Oriana now has that death cap, it's going to be doing so much damage, and Varus has finished his Phantom Dancer, so it's getting very strong right now.
And it looks like he's going to, you know, use that extra dagger to build towards Berserker Greaves, but he's 4-0-2, has his 2 main items completed, and he's just incredibly dangerous, as is Akali, as is Oriana. 10-3 the score, and Akali just diving in on that turret, doing some nice damage to Soraka, is going to back off, but had it not been for Annie and Ezreal showing up there, that could have been a very dead Soraka.
Yes, it could have indeed, and now they're just keeping up the pressure. Is going to maybe try to push down a little bit mid, but they're going to back off as there are a lot of people here, and Nocturne had backed off, back to base, so they're going to wait for him a little bit, and actually looks like Akali is going to go back as well, maybe going to buy some. See another support battle maybe going to break out here, and no, they're just going to back off.
So Akali, has finished completing her Rylai's Crystal Scepter. Shen, meanwhile, has only built health all game, and he did just pick up his Warmog's armor, which, changes the equation, but he only has, 300 more health than does Akali. And Akali has loads and loads more damage than does Shen. It was more telling before he picked up that Warmogs when Akali actually had more health than him, and of course that all that extra damage from the AP and the attack damage of the Gunblade to boot.
Yeah, and actually considering the spell vamp that Akali has, she probably has more health effectively than Shen does.
Yup, and a lot of people forget that her Twilight Shroud rather, also grants her up to 50 AR and MR. That's at level 5 right now. It's at level 3, grants her 30 AR and MR. So she's quite tanky. Even when you can see her in her Shroud, she gets that extra little bonus.
Yep. So, and that a lot of that item discrepancy is because of that farm, but also because of the kills that she has. She's 304 with 218 farm, and is looking really strong right now. Is really fed, and is gonna just go back to this top lane. Maybe gonna put down some harass on this Shen, but it's just gonna stay here, gonna do some damage and keep on pushing.
Yeah, really, IGT's in a tricky spot right now. They can't really fight one-on-one in any spot, in any location. They need to, try to group up and pick off the enemy team. Meanwhile, IGT's playing, or Microsoft rather, is playing it very safe. They're going to pick up this dragon, but they know it's not going to be contended. They haven't gone for Baron yet. That could be potentially be next up on their plate, but at the same time, they don't really need Baron to force their way. And whenever you do Baron, you give the enemy team the, the possibility of a steal, which could really bring them back in this game. They are 11,000 gold down, but wow.
Yeah, up at top we they are looks like IGT was going for the picking somebody off strategy with the Akali, but Akali backed off wisely, has that ward to spot them out over here near blue, so is safe from that 3-person gank that was going on.
Yeah, Varus actually tried to chunk down Ezreal as well, forced the flash out of him by using Chain of Corruption, just missed him just a wee bit wide, and now we're seeing, kind of aggression all over the map. Akali really, forcing Shen to back off, and, continues to put pressure on that turret.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is almost like an extended laning phase here with all of these lanes, but we're down to the second turret, so we're seeing a lot, basically champions, besides Sona and Soraka, I think, they're just basically in their own lanes and trying to keep on pushing even more there.
Yeah, we see Varus doing a lot of work on that bottom tower. It is half gone.
Oh, oop. Nocturne going in with the Paranoia, and they're going to get a lot of kills. The Annie gets the kill on the Orianna with her burst, but that is a good trade because they are going to be able to get this turret with those champions down, and it's going to keep on. They're going to keep on pushing from this.
Right, and that really leaves Akali up top. She can push down that turret pretty easily. Looks like they might try to catch onto Nocturne, but a really nice Reverie coming from Sona, and of course she also has her E, that little speed boost from Song of Celerity, helps him get away. And Varus just taking down the inhibitor turret down bottom, unopposed. Shen does come down, but it's far too late to save the turret. Will save the inhibitor for now.
Yep, so looks like Microsoft is looking pretty good. They are about 15,000 gold ahead, and they are in a very good position with all of these lanes pushed. And as you said, they might be going for a Baron next, or they might just choose to, keep on pushing. They don't necessarily need that Baron right now because they are so strong.
Right. I mean, if it was me, my first choice would be just to rush down that bottom inhibitor. Seems like the safest option is, they can pick a fight and not really have to go into turret. And of course, if IGT just decides to back off, then they get a free inhibitor, and they can decide to go where to go from there. We do see a flash coming out, bandage toss missing from Amu. Thanks to the flash, Varus deciding he should probably stay safe, as really the only thing that can, spoil Microsoft's fun right here is one of their members getting picked off and being taken down, essentially free of charge. They wouldn't be able to waste very many cooldowns on a single person and then be able to win a follow-up battle. But if they take someone out real easy then perhaps they can win the next 4v5 or the 5v4.
Yep, looks like they're actually going to back off a little bit. Thought they were going to start pushing, but no, Sona is going to stay here. And they're still pretty split up right now. Varus did go back, and Nocturne is going back right now, but they haven't grouped up that much yet in this game so far, besides that one little dragon fight that happened. But we'll see if they decided to group up right now, or if they decide to keep trying to push these lanes separately.
Yeah, it is certainly an interesting, point of the game where they've come to, but they do have, Varus and Nocturne running out of their base real quick, and hopefully they will group up and attempt to do something to really, finish off this game. They have a ward in the brush where everyone from IGT had just congregated. Luckily they split up there, perhaps thought, okay, I guess no one is coming. They were right in that respect. And Akali's running around and is spotted out by some wards, but really, she's not going to be chased down very easily. She has that that Twilight Shroud still, and Soraka doesn't have a pink ward. It would be really hard to really ensure a kill on Akali.
Yep, that ward being taken down very quickly because and Choop going in with that bandage toss, and he's not going to be able to get his ultimate off. The crescendo going down, and the the shockwave is so good, and Nocturne coming in. Now this is going to be a very favorable fight for Microsoft, as the only person left alive is Shen, and he gets bursted down so well. That was an incredible combo from Microsoft, and they were able to just burst them down so quickly. And now the surrender vote goes out after that fight, and good games going out from both sides, and as Microsoft takes this game.
Yeah, that was an incredible combination. Crescendo just laying everyone out, and then that followed up, for a really easy shockwave coming in. Nocturne jumped in, and then the Chain of Corruption followed suit. Really just everything was, in Microsoft's favor there, and it was just a decimating combination.
Yep, so it was a pretty good show by Microsoft, doing a very good job of when they actually decided to team fight, lay out that wombo combo. But before that, using their pushing abilities, basically pushing, using their lane advantages, and basically getting them down to, forcing them to defend all sides at the same time. So yeah, good match between these two teams, Microsoft and IGT, and I think that is all we have for you guys today. So yeah, anything you have left to say, Sotere?
Nope. Thanks for tuning in to AHGL Week 6. We'll be back with you next weekend, ZeroCardinality and myself, Sotere. But there are other AHGL games going on throughout the course of the day. Certainly check out the Reddit thread for that and tune into them as you will, and enjoy the League of Legends until next week.
Yep. So thanks for watching, everyone, and have a good day.